Welcome in. The Chief Zone is back. We are back here tonight on a Tuesday, April the 1st, April Fool's Day. Happy April Fool's Day to all of you who celebrate. I am Farzin Vousoughian, and it is time for another episode of the Chief Zone podcast. Yes, it feels like it's been forever since we've last done a podcast. I don't know why. It just feels that way. But we are back. A lot to go over here on this episode of the Chief Zone podcast. On the docket for tonight's show, the NFL league meetings taking place right now, and some rule changes taking place. Voting is taking place, and we'll talk about some of the rule changes that are taking place that have occurred over in Florida. So we'll discuss that. I'll give you guys my thoughts on some of the new rules for the NFL. Clark Hunt, the CEO and owner of the Chiefs, he has spoke out about the Chiefs stadium situation and says that he hopes to have an announcement by this summer. In fact, Mark Donovan also had some things to say regarding a brand new stadium. You guys will definitely want to hear that. Clark Hunt also responded to the president's invite to the White House to celebrate Super Bowl 54, championship from 5 years ago. And also the Chiefs are expanding globally. All of that and more here on this episode of the Chief Zone podcast. My name is Farzin Vousoughian. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I see you guys joining on the live stream on Facebook and YouTube. Appreciate you guys. And for those of you who are watching and listening later on Facebook and YouTube, also on Apple, Spotify, anywhere where you can download and listen to a podcast, I appreciate you guys doing that as well. Real quickly here, just one housekeeping note here. As far as the live streams go on Facebook, and this is not my decision at all, this is Meta's decision. It looks like they're choosing to delete live streams, any live videos. I guess this has to do with video capacity on their server. I don't really know. They don't really tell us much. They tell us what they're going to do, but they don't really give much of a reason behind it. Basically, this live stream, it's April the 1st. So in 30 days, this live stream will disappear. It'll be, you won't see it on May the 1st. This is something Meta is doing on Facebook. I know I'm saying this because I know some people, they see, some episodes are worth going back and rewatching. Now, these episodes will be available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So I guess if you want the video version to go back and watch or whatever you want to do, or screen record something I said and let me know it didn't age well, you'll basically need to do that through YouTube, because on YouTube, they don't take down any of their videos. I guess, and I'm speculating here, I think over time, Facebook did not expect that this platform would have so many live streams and videos. And I don't know, maybe they're thinking that to do away with live streams after 30 days. I don't know. But just wanted to let you know, because I know some people like to go back and listen or re-listen, or maybe go back and listen to an old episode. If you're a new listener, you just won't have that luxury on Facebook, unfortunately. So just getting that quick note out of the way. Before we move on, I want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. I went to the Royals home opener last week. That was a lot of fun, except for the final score, except for extra innings. But hey, listen, you guys want to go check out some Royals baseball? I need to go out to a Sporting KC game. I have not been to their new stadium. I guess it's not new anymore. I have not been to the new KC Current Stadium. And as a matter of fact, in the month of April, we've got the TKO takeover in Kansas City. We've got PBR, we've got UFC Fight Night, and WWE Raw in Kansas City this month, and you can check out all of the action through SeatGeek. That is where I go to for all of my sports ticketing needs. SeatGeek is the place where you should go as well. Whenever you see those prices, if you see a red dot next to them, that means you're paying too much. Do not spend money on those tickets. If you see a green dot next to those ticket prices, that is good. That means you are paying a good price for that ticket. So make sure you buy those tickets for your event. I like SeatGeek because they keep you honest. And another thing I like about SeatGeek, if you're a new customer, you can use my promo code FARZIN and you can save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, get your tickets, and at checkout, use my promo code FARZIN and save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. All right, all of that out of the way. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and their stadium. This has been a really hot topic in Kansas City. Metro teams and stadiums. That's been a hot topic for sure, especially with the Royals. And we kind of covered all of that stuff, so I'll leave that alone. But as far as the Chiefs, it kind of feels like the Chiefs are hot and cold. There's a lot of news behind the Chiefs and what's going on with their stadium situation. Then they go a couple of weeks without really anything, sometimes a couple of months. This offseason, it seems like we've been getting a little bit of news, a little bit more news about the Chiefs, but nothing too major. A couple of radio hosts in Kansas City spoke out and talked about the land that is owned by Clark Hunt, and how the Chiefs maybe want to use that to their advantage, and they have to renegotiate and renew those deals for the spring. Clark Hunt was asked about the stadium situation at the league meetings in Florida and said that he hopes to have an announcement by sometime this summer. I will say that's refreshing to hear, because I said the other day, it is kind of getting to a point now where this is getting tedious. It is really starting to get drawn out. I mean, we don't really know like what's going on really. Exactly 364 days ago today, that vote where the Chiefs and the Royals teamed up failed miserably. And here we are now, being told that the Chiefs want to have an announcement to share this summer. Essentially, they'd like to make a decision and have a deal done sometime, I would assume June or July. Now, Mark Donovan also spoke, and on the Kansas City Star was talking about the possibilities of having a Super Bowl with a brand new stadium. Also talking about the deadlines that the state of Kansas has to either renew or extend regarding the Star Bonds usage. I mean, Mark Donovan dove deep into all of this conversation with the state of Kansas. Now, it doesn't mean that the Chiefs are going to Kansas, but here's why I think it's significant. A lot of people think that the Chiefs are just posturing and they're going to end up staying in Missouri, where they are right now at the Truman Sports Complex. Well, Mark Donovan dove deep into the Star Bonds and the state of Kansas, and even brought up the possibility of hosting a Super Bowl at this potential brand new stadium. I mean, if the Chiefs were really posturing over the last, 6-12 months, I don't think they'd be going deep into having, basically giving answers to the media about Star Bonds and having to renew those deals, the usage for the Star Bonds in the state of Kansas. I mean, he really dove deep into what Kansas needs to do and what's the next step for them in order to have the possibility of a brand new stadium. Again, I'm not saying this is concrete and done and the Chiefs are moving to Kansas, but it sounds like the Chiefs are really strongly considering this, maybe more than some people might like to admit. And I say that because I know there's this big war between Kansas and Missouri. You guys know I don't take part in any of that. I think it's just stupid. But at the end of the day, to me, it's like, look, as long as they're staying in Kansas City, whether it's KCK, KCMO, I don't care, man. I'd be happy with either one. The driving distance would really be the same for me because I'm way out there. But that's neither here nor there. The point I'm trying to make here is the Chiefs have certainly explored the possibility of moving to Kansas in great detail and the possibility of hosting a Super Bowl. Let me just go to the Super Bowl thing. And we had Pete Mundo on the show. And listen, I know people have their opinions about Pete and how political he is, and he's right-leaning, all that. Fine, have whatever opinion you want about him. I can't control that. But the reason I had Pete on is because he's talked to more people that are kind of in the know, maybe relevant to this whole situation, more than any other radio host or maybe any other media member in this town. So that's why I had Pete on to share all of that. But here's the big thing to me. I know Clark Hunt wants to bring a Super Bowl to Kansas City. Remember the rolling roof proposal about 18, 19 years ago? Almost 2 decades ago? Clark Hunt, well, first of all, the Chiefs, if you guys recall, they were promised a Super Bowl if Jackson County approved of the rolling roof. Jackson County turned that down. And thank God they did, because I just think that looks silly. It really looked weird. But not the point. The point is, in the press conference leading up to the vote, Clark Hunt spent a lot of time talking about how hosting a Super Bowl can really benefit a city. And at the time, search engines at the time were different. If you Googled, well, I'm trying to think of something. If you Googled Kansas City Chiefs playoff drought at the time, not a lot of things would come up. Even today, I mean, the Chiefs don't have a playoff drought at the moment, but if they did, or even when they don't, you get all kinds of different things. The reason I'm saying this is because at the time when Clark Hunt had his press conference, I think Detroit was hosting Super Bowl 40, I think it was. Clark Hunt mentioned that if you Google Super Bowl in Detroit in the same search box, you get a lot of results. And his point with that is the economic success a city can really have, even for a short amount of time. I mean, what? The media gets there a week before. Some fans get there throughout the week. And then you have a little bit of a hangover after that. So for that week, let's just call it a week and a half. At the maximum, it's going to be a week and a half. It's still worth it for that city. Because a lot of people think that if the Chiefs do get this new stadium, yeah, they'll get the Super Bowl. But would it be a stadium that would be in rotation actively for a Super Bowl? Do you get a new stadium just for one Super Bowl? Because here's my thing. First of all, I think the answer is yes, but I don't think that's the only reason you build a brand new stadium. I think by doing this, you can certainly use a lot of things to your advantage. Listen, say what you want about football being played indoors or outdoors and all of these things. I'll use Allegiant Stadium as an example. And I remember getting a comment once from somebody, a listener, saying that he went to Allegiant Stadium for a game and he had a miserable experience and he felt like football should have been played outdoors. I mean, I don't know what your experience and the playing conditions have anything to do with each other. I've been to Allegiant Stadium 3 times. I'm actually going back there this summer for a concert. I will say this. I've been there for a concert and I've been there for 2 Chiefs Raiders games. I've also been there for a stadium tour as well. It's a great stadium. It's the only positive thing you can really think of with the Raiders. I mean, what positive things can you say about the Raiders? Max Crosby, Brock Bowers, and their stadium. That's all you can say about the Raiders right now. But it is a great stadium. And the 2 times I've gone for a football game, for a Chiefs Raiders game, I've had a great time. And I will say, I think it's certainly nice to not have to deal with the outdoors. I certainly had no complaints. Now, if you want to sit here and tell me, oh, football should be played outdoors, then how come Arrowhead wasn't packed for that Chiefs Dolphins game back in the wild card round? Not this past year, but the year before. I mean, come on. That's a lot of money lost on Clark Hunt's end there. Now, I'm sure a lot of people purchased tickets way beforehand because they sell these in advance, far in advance, before we even knew about the weather. So maybe you still made a good profit because a lot of people tried to resell their tickets. In fact, I remember Mark Van Sickle, my friend from KCMO Radio, he actually he didn't purchase any of the tickets, but he did this for fun. He got the cheapest ticket on his cart on SeatGeek, which is a sponsor of this podcast. And he also used my promo code for 2 tickets. And I think you could have easily gotten 2 tickets for $10 for that wild card game. Might have been the cheapest tickets for an NFL playoff game ever. But again, my whole point here is when you're looking at the situation here, I think there are some positives of playing games indoors. Patrick Mahomes, up until this last Super Bowl, he's undefeated when playing at indoor stadiums. Now, by the time the Chiefs have a new stadium, I don't know. Patrick Mahomes could be up there in age at that point, so we don't really know. You don't do it because of one player. My whole point is, I think I know Peyton Manning. There was a big deal made about his record indoors in January versus outdoors because he played for the Colts for such a long time and they had a lot of home games in the playoffs. But then he goes to Denver and he kind of struggled in the outdoors. I think some people just kind of look into the weather thing too much. But I'll say this, as a fan, I don't have any interest in going to a game in November, December, or January because of the damn weather. Listen, man, I hate the cold. I just do. Yeah, me and the cold do not go well together. But if the Chiefs were to get in an indoor stadium, I'd be more inclined to go to a December game at home. I mean, yeah, you're going in, you're driving through the cold and whatnot, but once you get into the stadium, take off the jacket and enjoy the football game. And I think a lot of people would certainly feel the same way. Now, in this brand new stadium, I mean, what's your capacity going to be? Are they going to build a stadium as big as Jerry's World? Or is it going to be like Allegiant Stadium where it's going to be 60-some thousand? I don't know. That's another logistical issue the Chiefs would need to look into here. But I think in general, there are more positives than negatives for a brand new stadium. And by the way, I want to be clear about something because I brought this up and a couple people said, "Oh, you don't think Missouri's capable of building a new stadium?" I never said Missouri's not capable of building an indoor stadium. But the mayor, Quentin Lucas, he does these live streams on his social media. And he gets asked about these stadium situations a lot. He says, here's his sales pitch to having the Chiefs stay where they're at. He's saying that spending $800 million to renovate Arrowhead Stadium is more cost effective than building a $2 to $3 billion stadium, emphasizing the word billion. Well, sir, with all due respect, if you're going to build something good that could attract Final Four, Super Bowls, other major events, big concerts at your own venue, yeah, you're going to have to spend some money. I mean, like, who are you kidding here? The Royals want to move downtown. The mayor wants the Royals to go downtown, and that's going to cost you at least $1 billion. I think the last I saw that number was $1.4 billion. So it's like, well, what are you going to do here? Yeah, Joey says Dome Stadium is going to reduce seating. That is true, but here's the thing. Depends how you build it, I suppose. Again, look at the Cowboy Stadium. What's the capacity on that? 100,000 or give or take, close to it, something like that. Yeah, Timmy, we haven't gone over the rule changes yet. We'll touch on that shortly. My whole thing is this. I've said this many times. I want the Chiefs to do it right. If you're going to be spending a lot of money, do this right. I saw the renovation proposal that they had, what was it, 15 months ago? Those were some underwhelming proposals. And the optics of it, pretty terrible, because the exact moment Clark Hunt was doing his presentation was also the exact second the NFLPA report card came out and Clark Hunt was given that F- grade. It certainly improved to a C-. There's room for improvement there, but it was not a good look. Listen, Clark Hunt's a very relaxed, settled guy, especially when he talks to the media. He certainly seemed a little uncomfortable when talking to the media right after, because usually when something like this happens, you have an opportunity to speak to your PR people, and the PR people can coach you up on how to answer certain questions. Clark Hunt was not ready for that press conference. And I'm not shaming him or making fun of him or any of that. It's just, boy, he was hit blindsided from left field with that F- grade while asking Jackson County to foot $500 million of the bill. Yeah, the optics of that certainly were not good. I know the Chiefs would have to spend a little bit more money if they go to Kansas, but Kansas would be willing to spend a hell of a lot more than what Jackson County is proposing for renovations. And here's the other thing too. Like, I see the comment here from Scott saying no more renovations. It's like, it's almost like driving a car that's got 150,000 miles on it. Like, how much money do you want to spend fixing that car up over and over and over again? I mean, listen, I will say this. I think the Chiefs hit a home run with their renovations about 15 years ago. That skybox, and I don't know if you guys have been there before. It's actually pretty cool. I've never watched a game from there, but I have been there before. It does kind of give you a little bit of vertigo, just kind of depending on how you are with certain things, because it is way up high. I've never seen a sporting event or anything or any field surface from that high before. Actually, I lied. I have seen a game up there before because I used to. This is how memorable my time was with the Chiefs. For those who know, I used to work in media production with the Kansas City Royals, and the Kansas City Chiefs needed a backup, so they called me over and had me kind of just shadow for a couple of preseason games. So, yeah, but I wasn't focused so much on the game. I was focused so much on the presentation and the work that you had to do. But I've been up there. It's a little weird. It's a little weird, but I'll leave it there. Anyway, my point is, I thought the Chiefs did a good job with their renovations. These new renovation proposals, I'm just not a big fan of. A lot of it is really just a new video board, and there's nothing wrong with their video board. The VIP entrances, like, I don't care about VIP entrance. Like, who is that for? Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and all of their celebrity friends? Like, I don't care about the VIP entrances there. And then they want, like, high top seating areas, and they're going to take a lot of seats out for that. They basically want to do what Allegiant Stadium has with that club. What do you call it? The Wynn Club Mix, whatever that thing is. Like, listen, man, we're Kansas City. We're not Vegas. We're not Miami. One thing I really like about Arrowhead is that it's just a bowl of seats all around. And I know they took some out in the renovations, going from 80,000 to 70,000. But I look at Gillette Stadium, and I think it's actually a cool look for Gillette Stadium. They have that nice little bridge where you can walk through, but they've utilized it over the years by having their Super Bowl banners, which I think is very smart. That's a great thing to do there. I just think at the end of the day, there are some benefits to getting a new stadium here. And from the sounds of it, we're going to get an answer sometime this summer. So hopefully that'll certainly give us a lot of clarity and basically answer all of our questions by then. I will say this. The one thing I really do want, because if you're going to stay at Arrowhead, well, you're going to miss out on some things, such as a Super Bowl and some other major events. But if you get an indoor stadium, I think the one major thing you do lose and miss out on would be the epic flyover. Part of the Arrowhead experience is to be in your seat before the national anthem, so you can chant with your 70,000 other people, home of the Chiefs, and have the flyover experience. Like, that is a huge part of attending games at Arrowhead. You don't get that when you're at an indoor stadium like SoFi or Allegiant Stadium. My one big thing, and I know this would cost more money, have a retractable roof. And for those, I mean, listen, if the weather is great, keep the roof open. You got to fly over for that game, keep the roof open. That way, I think if anyone is against an indoor stadium because they think football should be played indoors, well, a retractable roof would certainly alleviate that. Obviously, they would cover it up if it's too cold, snowing, raining, whatever. But that's just the one big thing I ask of the Chiefs if they're going to build a brand new stadium. The Kansas City Chiefs, we talked about this last podcast. They received an invite from the President of the United States, and this has gotten all kinds of reactions. Obviously, a lot of it has gotten political, which I'm not going to do here. I will say this. I think a lot of times, and not just with this subject, but a lot of subjects, people just read the headline for something and they never look into why something is going on or why something is happening, or in this case, why the president is inviting the Chiefs. Now, again, maybe he has other reasons that people have put out there, but people think that he's inviting the Chiefs because they reached the Super Bowl this year. That's not why the Chiefs are getting an invite. President Donald Trump has said that he wants to invite the Chiefs because they never had an opportunity to celebrate Super Bowl 54. Mayor Quinton Lucas even said when President Biden won the 2020 election, said that, hey, look, there's still an opportunity for the Chiefs to go to the White House to celebrate that occasion, which I guess they never went for Super Bowl 54 specifically, but they ended up going to celebrate Super Bowl 57 and Super Bowl 58. But I guess they never really celebrated that second Super Bowl in franchise history, the first since the merger. So that's why the president's reaching out, because the Chiefs were supposed to go in 2020 for obvious reasons. We know why that didn't happen. Clark Hunt says that the Chiefs would like to try to go, but he also said that there is a logistical issue in the fact that there are only 6 players from Super Bowl 54 who are still on the team today. Who are those 6 players, by the way? Off the top of my head, I'm going to try to get this. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, obviously, Harrison Butker, Chris Jones. I think Derek Nottie. Is Derek Nottie still on the team? Is Derek Nottie still on the team? No, he's not. I forgot he's on with the Jets. Okay, so Mahomes, Kelce, Butker, Chris Jones, McCole Hardman for the longest time was a Chief. Man, who was on the Chiefs? Who are the 2 other guys? Help me out, chat. I got the 4 guys, but Mahomes, Kelce, Butker, and Jones. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on the other 2. Wasn't Nick Bolton. He was the 2021 draft pick. I don't think any of the current offensive linemen were there. Man, I want to say Mike Dana. Oh, Lee said James Winchester. Yes. Oh, James Winchester is one of them. No, Creed Humphrey was a 2021 draft pick, Joey, same year as Nick Bolton. I'm trying to think. I don't think it's any of the cornerbacks. I don't know, man. I'm drawing a blank on that name. I'm looking it up. Who are the 6 players? Let's see. None of the receivers, none of the offensive linemen. You guys are going to need to help me out because I'm not Noah Gray, none of the tight ends, not Kareem Hunt, not Isaiah Pacheco. Who the hell is it? Oh, Mike Pennel. It would be Mike Pennel. Mike Pennel. Yeah, he joined the team mid-season that year. I forgot. Okay, so it's Mahomes, Kelce, Winchester, Butker, Jones, and Mike Pennel. Okay. And yes, Mike Pennel did resign with the Chiefs recently, which we went over. And I think that's a good resigning for the Chiefs. Okay, here's my thing, going back to the logistical issue, and I saw Lee was commenting on this as well. These players have damn money, y'all. What are we doing? Oh, this is a logistic. Oh my God. How are we going to get Tyreek Hill to spend all that money he's getting overpaid by the Miami Dolphins to come back to the Chiefs? Listen, the Chiefs can pay for all of these guys to get to DC. I mean, the players and the coaches like would Eric Bieniemy also come back? I mean, they can all afford it. And let's just say, for whatever reason, that's a concern. Either the team or the president will pay for it. I mean, come on. And by the way, here's my thing. Again, I get political tensions are high, but why do some people get so riled up over this? I know how this works. I know how this game works. Oh, you disagree with me? Stick to sports. Oh, you agree with me? Yeah, you keep talking. You say whatever the hell you want to say. The amount of people that are trying to decide for Travis Kelce if Travis Kelce should go or not. Oh, I hope Kelce does not go. Oh, I hope he goes, and it'll piss off his girlfriend. Like, well, the amount of people that really focus in on these kinds of things, man. And listen, I've been on both sides of the political aisle in the past. Not anymore, man. I'm proud to say I'm on neither side. It's funny when I post these kinds of things, I get accused of being a MAGA cult member one minute, and then the next minute I'm a woke liberal. That's your guys' decision. That's what you guys decide, not me. Anyway, that is the latest update on the Chiefs possibly going to the White House. It sounds like the team wants it to happen. I know the Hunt family, they're big supporters of the president, so it sounds like they're going to try to make a trip to D.C. sometime this summer. And by the way, another thing I've seen, a lot of people are saying, oh, the Chiefs are taking this away from the Eagles. What are the Chiefs taking away from the Eagles? It's not like the Chiefs invited themselves and told the president to disinvite the Eagles. I mean, that's not what's happening here. The Eagles the president has clearly stated he still looks forward to having the Philadelphia Eagles at the White House. Like, come on, people. Again, goes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. A lot of people read the headlines. They never read the actual story. We see that way too much these days. Another thing, before we get into the NFL rule changes, the Chiefs expanding globally. Yes, they already have marketing rights in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Mexico. And now they've added 3 more countries. They've added the country of Ireland, they've added the UK, and they've added Spain. 3 major countries there where the Chiefs can promote themselves or push the product out there more. And a lot of people have been speculating, does this mean the Chiefs could have more games internationally? Obviously, not this past season, but the season before, the Chiefs gave up a home game to host one in Germany. That was the game against the Miami Dolphins, the first time Tyreek Hill went up against his former team, the Kansas City Chiefs, and obviously a very memorable moment where Tyreek Hill fumbled against the Chiefs. Trent McDuffie forced a fumble. The draft pick the Chiefs got in the Tyreek Hill trade. That's the game, just to give you a refresher. And I do know Clark Hunt was advocating for the Chiefs to try to go back the following season, which was this past season, as a member of the road team, but that did not end up happening. I can say this, there was a lot of, because Clark Hunt used to be part of the NFL's international committee. There was a lot of work to try to get the Chiefs to be the team that would visit, I think it was the Carolina Panthers, for a game in Germany. But that didn't happen. The Chiefs have played in Mexico. They've played in the UK. Now there are a lot of other possibilities here with Austria, Switzerland, Ireland, Spain. The NFL is continuing to expand their international series for sure. So the Chiefs will be playing overseas twice, just like the Jags. Yeah, Joey, that is possible. That certainly can be something that the Chiefs would look into. No, I'm personally not a big fan of that. Listen, I'm not a fan of the international series in general, but I get it. It's what the NFL wants to do. One game, I'm fine with. Back-to-back games, man, at that point, you're just taking away opportunities from fans in the U.S. that want to visit their team. So, for example, when I mentioned that there was a possibility the Chiefs could visit the Carolina Panthers, I'd be a member of the visiting team in Germany, there were a lot of fans in North and South Carolina, those areas, surrounding areas, they were not happy about it because they wanted to be able to go see their team play in person. So let's say, who do the Chiefs visit? Let's say the Broncos, because we have seen international games or rivalry games played internationally. If the Chiefs were to visit the Broncos, well, there are probably a lot of Chiefs fans in Denver that would want to go make that trip because that's the only opportunity they get to see the Chiefs in person. But if they take that game away and put it in the UK, Spain, Germany, wherever they go, well, then you miss out on that opportunity to be able to see the Chiefs. You can't hear me, Timmy says. Can anyone hear me? Because usually what I mean, judging by all these other comments here, it sounds like people can hear me. So I'll assume everyone else can hear me. But in general, I'm just not a big fan of these international games. I get it. There's money to be made. There's a lot of recognition, a way to promote the NFL. Okay, so everyone else can hear me. Great. Timmy, turn up your volume. I mean, I know you can't hear me, but hopefully there are captions on the bottom that let you see what I'm saying. I just think at the end of the day, keep the games in the United States. Do you see the Premier League? Like, do you see Manchester United playing their premier games in Kansas City? I mean, yeah, they came to play the Wizards once, but that was like a preseason game for them. I don't know, man. I'm just not a big fan of the whole international thing. If we're going to do this, why not bring back NFL Europe? If there was ever a chance to give NFL Europe a second chance, I think now is the time. I mean, look at the USFL. I know they've merged with the AAF or whatever that thing was called, and the XFL. I mean, they gave the XFL a second chance. I think the pandemic is what prevented it from being given another opportunity, a second season. But they merge and they're making it work now. So if there was ever a chance to bring back NFL Europe, now would be the time. I'm just not a fan of sending regular season game, especially a game like Kansas City, Miami. Now, we ended up having that game in Kansas City, but it was in the cold tundra, which we went over earlier. I'm just not a big fan of sending those kinds of games. Even if it's a bad game, like if it's Tennessee versus Vegas in the UK. Okay. I don't think Americans are really dying to wake up really early and be first in line to enter the stadium for a game like that. But I still prefer that the United States keeps their games here. Joe Ellen says, I'm not a big fan either. I went to London to see the Chiefs back in 2015 and missed the Royals World Series. Yes, I do remember that because the Chiefs were coming back after they beat the Lions in London, and the players did not know about the World Series until they landed in the United States. So, yeah, I do remember that, Joe Ellen. That was weird. That was very weird. Timmy, I don't know if you see like a mute button somewhere around here. Oh, there you go. Now you hear me. Okay, good. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, but the NFL is, and I guess there's some money to be made with those things, and there's an opportunity to be able to promote and expose the NFL globally, and that's really the point with the international series. Hey guys, we're going to take a quick break here and spend a moment to talk about my friends over at Fathead. Fathead has the best life-size wall graphics of your favorite players and team logos and has been going strong for almost 2 decades. Maybe you're looking to spice up your man cave where you watch all of your sports. Perhaps you want to add to your room where you have all of your sports memorabilia. You can get something that looks cool for your kid's bedroom. Or maybe you're a Swiftie and you want Taylor Swift's boyfriend as part of your celebrity wall. Fathead is the place to go, and if you're a Chiefs fan, you can get Fatheads of your favorite current and former Chiefs players such as Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tony Gonzalez, Derek Thomas, and more. For those of you watching on the live stream, look for my exclusive Fathead link in the comments right now. And for those listening to the audio version, look for my exclusive Fathead link in the podcast description. When you use my link, you will get free standard US shipping when you place an order on Fathead. Use my exclusive Fathead link, get yourself some Chiefs Fathead swag, and take advantage of free shipping in the United States. Fathead has the... All right, let's jump into the NFL rule changes here. And by the way, one quick thing I forgot to mention, going back to the Super Bowl, a possibility of having a Super Bowl in Kansas City real quickly. I did not know this until today. Mark Donovan is on the selection committee for the Super Bowl, meaning he has a say, partially, in where the NFL will have their Super Bowls every year. I did not know that. Apparently, Mark Donovan is also one of those guys in line to become an NFL commissioner whenever the time comes that Roger Goodell steps away. So I had no idea about that. Something Boy, could you imagine the rigged crowd if Mark Donovan becomes the commissioner one day? Oh boy, that would get a lot of reactions. Yeah, it really would. All right, let's get into the NFL rule changes here. The first one, both teams will possess the ball in overtime in the regular season. So this has been a rule that they have changed a lot over the years, over the last feel like 2 decades. This one, it started with, okay, you have to score a touchdown to end the game if you get the ball first, and if you only get a field goal, then the opposing team has a chance to at least possess the ball. Then they changed it to where first that was a playoff rule. Then they made it a playoff and a regular season rule. Then they changed the playoff rule after the Chiefs beat the Bills in that 13-second game. Remember that game? Of course you do. Why did I ask that? They changed it to where both teams must possess the ball in overtime. And clearly the 49ers did not know that when they were playing the Chiefs in Super Bowl 58. Now, the rule has changed to where both teams will possess the ball no matter what, at least one time in overtime for both the playoffs and now the regular season. Here's my thing. I'm not a fan of this because then you have to think strategically. If the team that gets the ball first, do we go for an 8-point touchdown? Do we go for 2? Because maybe the other team will go for 2 if they get the ball. This could also get interesting because they're keeping it at 10 minutes still. So this does increase the possibility of having more ties in the NFL. This is going to lead to a lot of complaints, man. We keep wanting these overtime rules change, and all it does is lead to more complaints. Because first it was, we don't want to see a field goal end the game in overtime. Well, now we don't want the team that wins a coin toss to just finish it off with a touchdown. It's like, man, we just keep changing the rules over and over and over again. And we don't see the end of the complaints. Personally, I like sudden death. And I will say, if that was the rule for Super Bowl 58, the 49ers beat the Chiefs. I recognize that. Joey says, what happens when a team runs out the clock and kick a game-winning field goal? Well, that's a good question. Because in Super Bowl 58, the Chiefs got their touchdown to Mecole Hardman. They got it with 3 seconds left. And right before the snap, Tony Romo was trying to clarify because the Chiefs were moving slow. And I'll be honest, listen, I'm not in the NFL. I don't know these rules. I don't need to know these rules. But I was kind of like, wait, what's going on here? Why are the Chiefs moving slow? Like, do they not see the clock? Is this Andy Reid's clock management? What was coming back? And no, it's not what it was. And Tony Romo explained it, saying that as long as the team that gets the ball second they're still on their drive, they will have a chance. So we were 3 seconds away from getting the first ever double overtime period in NFL Super Bowl history. But the Chiefs were able to take care of business with 3 seconds to spare in that overtime period. But that's a good question, Joey, because in previous years, I don't think it really mattered. Yeah, see, that's a good point. There's basically a clock for no reason. But if both teams, let's say both teams get a field goal or a touchdown real quickly on their opening possessions for overtime for each team, well, you're going to need a clock, because if you can't score within the allotted time, then it ends up being a tie, which again is going to lead to a lot of complaints. Here's the other thing, though. Because why are people complaining about overtime rules? They want both teams to possess the ball at least once. Okay, but what if, and this is going to happen with the Chiefs, and I swear to you, it will happen, and people are going to go nuts over it. What happens if the Chiefs, and let's say the Bills, because it's probably going to happen against the Bills. Let's say the Chiefs get a field goal first in overtime. Then the Bills get a field goal to respond. Well, you got a tie game. Guess what? the team that gets the ball for the third possession of overtime, and who knows how much time would be left, all they have to do is kick a field goal again, and they win. The Bills would not get a second possession in overtime or a fourth possession, however you want to view it. At that point, what's the new complaint going to be? Oh, the Chiefs got the ball twice in overtime. The Bills only got it once. I swear to you, that complaint is on the way. That complaint is on deck. And everyone's going to be complaining when their favorite team only possessed the ball once in overtime, when the opposing team, the winning team, got 2 possessions in overtime. That's assuming they can do it pretty quickly within that 10-minute span. Here's one thing. I don't know how many times we will see that scenario. I mean, unless teams are exchanging field goals, then that's when we could get a third possession. But with that 10-minute period, that could get interesting. Because remember, they've changed the time for the overtime period too over the years, which I'm not a fan of. Yeah. Anyway, the second rule is new technology will measure first downs. The chain gang will still be present and they'll still do their thing, but they will only come on the field to measure a first down only if the technology is not working or is down. What was the motivating drive behind this one? Oh yeah, Josh Allen not being able to pick up a first down. That's a driving motivation behind this one. You know what? The new overtime rule and the technology measuring the first down, I call them the Josh Allen rules now. That's the name. Because how did this work? You guys, like, it's funny how people are willing to accept ideas for a new rule in the NFL depending on whether their preferred team wins or not. That kind of hypocrisy, because that's just the way things work nowadays. Tell me if this is the truth or not. If I'm lying, point out the lie for me here. Allen can't beat the Chiefs in overtime, and because of a 13-second blunder, they blamed overtime rules. By the way, Atlanta Falcons fans, they did the exact same thing after Super Bowl 52, 53, whichever one it was, when the Patriots had that massive come from behind win. I think it was 51, actually, now that I think about it. That was when the Patriots had that come from behind win, down by 25 points. And the Patriots won the coin toss in overtime, and they just marched down the field, and they won. They won in overtime. And Falcons fans are blaming the loss on overtime rules. Yeah, Bills fans did the exact same thing because of the 13-second blunder. And then Allen can't get a first down against Kansas City. So what happens? They change the first down measurements. I mean, are you guys noticing a pattern here? Because I am. Oh, boy. Imagine blaming the overtime rules for a 13-second blunder, essentially allowing a team to tie the game on a 13-second drive. That's what we have come down to here. And listen, I'll give props to Josh Allen, because he said himself after a 13-second game, he said that if we got the ball and we scored, we'd be celebrating. We would not be complaining about overtime rules. And he's right. Everyone complains about the overtime rules when it works against them. So, for example, the AFC Championship game between the Chiefs and the Patriots. Remember that game, unfortunately? That was the Dee Ford game, if you will. He was offsides. So the Chiefs lost the coin toss to the Patriots, and the Patriots got the ball, marched down the field, and they won. And that offseason, the Chiefs proposed a rule to change the overtime rules. And I was, again, listen, a lot of people mocked the Chiefs, and I agreed with the criticism. I don't think the Chiefs lost that game because of the overtime rules. No, not because of the coin toss. They lost because, well, Dee Ford was offsides. That's one reason why. The defense allowed 13 of 19 third down conversions in that game, 3 of them third and long conversions in overtime. The Chiefs were shut out in the first half. Tyreek Hill had a punt return for negative yardage and a penalty on that same play that pushed him all the way against their own end zone. They basically had a 3-and-out and a punt that set the Patriots up already in field goal position, so they got a cheap field goal out of that. That's why you lost that game. not because of the overtime rules. And by the way, what happened a couple of years later? The Chiefs beat the Chargers in that epic Thursday night football showdown in overtime when they won the coin toss, right? Remember that one? And then that same year in the playoffs, what happened? That 13-second overtime game. So the Chiefs had the overtime rules go against them in the AFC Championship game against New England. And then a couple of years later, really a month apart, 2 games a month apart, they have the overtime rules work to their advantage where they won the coin toss and they scored a touchdown on the opening possession of overtime. Lee says, why couldn't both teams, if they're tied after 10 minutes runs out, go to NCAA overtime red zone plays? I'm not opposed to that if we're going to like double overtime, that kind of thing, Lee. I'm not opposed to that. I actually thought, like, I'm a big fan of penalty shootouts in hockey when they do it in the regular season. And again, this is my only criticism for hockey is that they have different rules for the regular season and in the playoffs for overtime, which I'm not a big fan of. 3-on-3 in the regular season, 5-on-5 in the postseason for overtime, and they get a full period, like a full 20-minute period, whereas in the regular season it's 5 minutes and then it goes to a penalty shootout if no one scores within the 5. Not a fan of that, but I will say this: I would be in favor of, if the game is still tied after the overtime period, you go to a field goal shootout, no defense, no nothing, all you have is your long snapper, your holder, and your kicker. That's all you have. And maybe that's a little too much. Maybe you do keep the defense out there and the rest of the blockers. You start at a certain distance and you go back every 5 yards, assuming both kickers keep making their kicks. And they both kick in the same direction to make it fair. Then once you get to like the 55, 60-yard range, you go back only 1 yard at a time. That would be interesting. That would make it a lot more interesting. And plus, you would get kickers far more involved in the game. That'd be a lot of fun. But that's just my idea. I don't think a lot of people have that idea in mind. But yeah, man, it's funny. Whenever Josh Allen, because the Chiefs supposedly have the refs in their pocket, right? But whenever Josh Allen has something go against him, against the Chiefs of all teams, that's when the rules begin to change. They propose something and they vote on it. Okay. All right. But yeah, let's keep talking about the refs and how they're in the Chiefs' pockets. The third one, touchbacks now at the 35-yard line on the dynamic kickoff. I think that's such a stupid name, dynamic kickoff. Here's my question. And Roger Goodell did a press conference today, and I've talked about this before. The media, they're scared. They are scared of Roger Goodell. They will never ask the difficult questions of Roger Goodell because they worry about having their credentials yanked. Why is no one, I mean, other than the fact that no one has the balls to do it, why is no one asking Roger Goodell, why are you changing rules that do not need to be changed? Why fix something that's not broken? What is wrong with the kickoff rule? And please don't say injuries, because there is not enough evidence to prove that there are more injuries on kickoffs than there are on offense and versus defensive plays. I mean, come on. Roger Goodell said regarding the tush push ban, because that's been tabled, he says that there are a lot of injuries that happen on the tush push, which is not true. There is no evidence to back that statement up. People say this, but there's no evidence for it. Now, does the center take quite a beating? Yeah, Jason Kelsey's acknowledged that. But no one's gotten injured from it. Listen, it's football. It's a violent sport. Injuries happen, unfortunately. I'm not saying we should accept it or just be thrilled about it, but that is football for you. I just don't understand. The most exciting thing in football is a kick return or a punt return touchdown. And you're changing the kickoff game so much to where teams are probably just going to take a knee in the end zone, because now instead of the 30, you go to the 35. Now, if it lands in the landing zone and rolls out of the end zone, and out of bounds, then it goes to the 20. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of constantly changing rules for things that don't need to be changed. Like, what was the reasoning to ever change this? Injuries? Well, there's no evidence. There's no proof that injuries occur more often on kickoffs versus offense versus defensive plays. There's just no proof of that. I mentioned the onside kick that has been tabled. They will revisit that next month. The tush push will be revisited next month. The tush push thing is weird to me, man. People are saying that the injury thing we've already gone over. There's no proof of that. People are saying it's boring and that it's a rugby play. That's not a good enough reason to ban something. I mean, we see some dink and dunk passes in the NFL. That's boring. Why are we not banning that? If we're going to say that the tush push is boring, then we have to ban dink and dunk plays because that's boring too. I'm just using that logic. I'm not saying I'm for that. Another thing, it's like, I think a lot of people just want to ban it because it gives the Eagles a massive advantage, and no one wants to say that part out loud. Nobody. I'm telling you, here's my thing. I don't want it to be banned because I think it's silly. But you know what? Part of me wants it to, because I think it's silly that people think, first of all, they want it banned because they think it's an advantage for the Eagles. They want to slight the Eagles and put them at a disadvantage. Folks, the Eagles are just going to run a regular quarterback sneak. Now, on a tush push, you get 3, 4, 5 extra yards. And it really helps your odds on scoring a touchdown if you have the ball at the 1 or the 2. Now, if you don't have the tush push on 3rd and inches or 4th and inches or 4th and 1, I think the Eagles will still get that 1 yard on a QB sneak. And let's just say they don't want to run the QB sneak. They have a running back. You might have heard of him by the name of Saquon Barkley. He'll get that 1 yard just fine. He will have no problems doing that. I hope that they do ban it and that the Eagles just run it with Saquon and have no problems on short yardage situations. Because then it's like, okay, you try to take that away from the Eagles and they're doing just fine without it. I mean, not that I'm an Eagles fan or anything, but I think it's stupid to want to ban something, which again, no one wants to say it out loud. It's because that the Eagles have an advantage. That's why they want it banned. That's why they want it outlawed. So I kind of hope the Eagles stick it to defenses and score in short yardage situations with Saquon Barkley, because then it's like, okay, the Eagles are going to get the last laugh out of this. Like, you just saw the type of season Saquon Barkley had, right? And I guess if you're a fantasy football owner, Saquon Barkley's value certainly will skyrocket in this kind of situation. It's just weird, though. Like, people just want things banned because they don't like the fact that another team's benefiting from it. Are we going to ban torpedo bats in Major League Baseball now because the Yankees are using that to their advantage? Are we going to Steph Curry? He just made 8 3-pointers tonight in the first half. I mean, no one can stop him. Clearly, he's just getting better and better. Are we going to limit basketball players on how many 3-pointers they can attempt because you can't stop them? Like, come on. I mean, the tush push. And by the way, here's what I will say. I know a lot of people want it banned because defensive players are not allowed to tush push. I think that's actually a fair criticism. I would rather the focus be, hey, let's allow defensive players to do it rather than, hey, let's ban the tush push. That's my thing. That's my response to anyone who says that. It is a fair criticism, though. Like, hey, defensive players can't do it, but offensive players can. Now, I will say this. I don't know how defensive players can use that to their advantage versus the tush push, but people think that it provides some sort of an advantage for the defense. I don't know how, but that's neither here nor there. But those are my thoughts on the new NFL rules that have been changed and voted on this past week. So there you have it. That'll do it for this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Thank you all for joining me on this Tuesday night, April the 1st. And speaking of Steph, he just dropped 52 on the Grizzlies. Yeah, that's how good he is. Let's ban players from how many 3-pointers they can attempt. That way they're not scoring so much against us. All right. Is that how it works? Whenever something happens against you, that's when you want it banned. I'm being facetious, sort of. But anyway, thank you all for watching and listening live on Facebook and YouTube. Appreciate all of you who watched the archive version on Facebook and YouTube, as well as Apple, Spotify, anywhere else where you can download and listen to a podcast. We'll be back for the Red Friday live chat this Friday. We'll react to some of the more happenings at the NFL league meetings and also some Chiefs news that does come out. All of that during the Red Friday live chat. I will talk to you all then. Enjoy the rest of your week. Happy April. Talk to you all later.